When I was in high school, there was no class that offered in-depth lessons on financial topics like taxes, investing, mortgages. I think that's how most high schools are. If your high school taught you that stuff, please let me know down in a comment below. So I, like most young adults, entered the real world not knowing much about all of that stuff. And it's such a shame because that knowledge is so important and so useful, and I would gladly go back in time and swap out a semester of chemistry for a semester of actual adult financial skills that you'll regularly use. So today I'm going to be sharing some things that I would tell 20-year-old me or 18-year-old me about finance. The first thing I would tell myself is money that's sitting in a regular low interest bank account is losing value due to inflation. Inflation is when the purchasing value of money decreases. It's like how $5 in 1950 was worth a lot more than $5 is today. And the historical average of inflation in the United States is 2 to 3% a year. It varies. Some years it's higher, some years it's lower. So if you have a sum of money sitting somewhere for the span of a year and it doesn't get at least a 2% return or whatever the inflation for that year is, it's actually sitting there decreasing in value. And most big bank savings accounts have horrendous interest rates, like 0.01%. It's like no interest at all. There are some higher yield savings accounts available at some banks like Ally. I believe their rate is currently at 1% on a savings account, which is better than 0.01%, but it still is probably not matching inflation. So if you have savings that you're not planning on really using or touching in the near future, it's smarter to put it somewhere that's more lucrative. Some of the places you can look into are stocks and bonds. Go make an appointment with a financial advisor. They can look at your situation and determine what your short-term and long-term goals are, and they can tell you the smartest place to be keeping your money so that it's growing. The second thing I would tell myself is to open a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is a retirement account where you pay taxes on the money going in, but you don't have to pay any taxes when you start withdrawing the money in retirement, which is unique because traditional IRAs are tax deferred. You just have to pay taxes when you start withdrawing. And for anyone who's not familiar with an IRA, it's just an account for you to put money into to do your money making in. So you can put money into an IRA and then you can invest that money in stocks or you can put it in bonds. It's not like a savings account with an interest rate or anything. So the benefits of a Roth IRA and paying tax on the money as it goes in versus as the money comes out is you get to pay tax at the bracket you're in right now. This is especially advantageous if you're younger because chances are the younger you are, the lower the tax bracket you're in. Right now, you might be in the 12% tax bracket. So if you contribute $5,000 to a Roth IRA, you're only going to be paying tax on it at that tax bracket rate. But let's say that 30 or 40 years pass and you've been smart with your money and you've had a great career and now you're in the 30% tax bracket. It won't matter because you don't have to pay any tax on the money you're withdrawing. And another cool thing about a Roth IRA is because you're only paying taxes on the money as it goes in, then whatever you do with that money, if you make some really smart investment decisions, you pick the next Berkshire Hathaway when it's in its early stages and you invest in those stocks, and then that stock skyrockets for the next few decades, you don't have to pay any tax on that. So you might be thinking, okay, what's the catch? Why would anyone choose a traditional IRA over a Roth? There are income and contribution limits for a Roth IRA. If your income is over a certain threshold, you will not qualify to contribute to one. And even if your income is under that threshold, there is still a limit to how much you can contribute. So the reason I would tell my 20-year-old self to open a Roth IRA is because you're more likely to qualify income-wise earlier in your life than later in your life. The third thing I would tell myself is that everybody spends their money differently, and sometimes people who have really nice expensive things have gone into debt for them. And I didn't realize that this was a thing that people even did at 20 years old. Looking at these people and the things that they could afford, I often felt really behind. Like, what am I doing wrong when everyone else can afford this stuff? And obviously this doesn't go for everybody who has expensive things. There are a lot of people who do very well for themselves and they can totally afford those things. So I really learned to stop comparing what I have with what other people have because I don't know their financial situation. Yeah, I could go out and I could spend a whole bunch of money on a credit card to get myself a head to toe designer outfit, and maybe people would look at me and think like, wow, she's doing so well for herself, and not realize that that's actually just thousands of dollars sitting on a credit card that I have. And then kind of in the same category, another thing I would tell my 20-year-old self is you don't have to spend money at the same rate as your friends. The best thing you can do is find find friends who have similar spending and saving habits to you. But if your friends do spend their money differently, it's entirely okay for you not to do that and to vocalize your spending abilities and expectations. One time when I was in my early 20s, I remember going out to dinner with a group of friends, and it wasn't somebody's birthday or an occasion or a celebration or anything like that. It was just like a random dinner, but the restaurant turned out to be quite a bit more expensive than I was expecting. And I was on a budget, so I just ordered an entree and had water to drink and had nothing else. But pretty much everybody else at the table went all out with like multiple $15 to $20 cocktails and appetizers and entrees and dessert, which there's nothing wrong with that. If I hadn't been on a budget or if it had fit my budget, I would have done that too. And at the end of the meal, the bill came to the table, and somebody who I don't think realized I had just had an entree just tossed out the suggestion, do you guys just want to split it evenly? And this tab had worked out to be well over $100 per person, and I had just had one $20 entree. So I spoke up and said, actually, I just had this one entree, so if I could do my tab separately, that would be great. Of course, nobody cared. I don't think they had realized I had just ordered one thing, and it wasn't like it was a birthday celebration dinner or something where I would have contributed to like the total bill for somebody else. It was just like a regular casual dinner. But I remember feeling kind of awkward about it and feeling pressured to be spending money on dinner the way that my friends were. It's really easy to feel pressured to blend in with your friends when it comes to spending. It's totally acceptable to be transparent about your spending abilities. And usually I think nobody else cares. Like, you're the only one that feels the pressure, but nobody else really cares what you're spending. The next thing I would tell 20-year-old me is, instead of asking yourself how you can spend less, ask yourself how you can make more. I remember having a conversation with my dad in my early 20s, and I was talking about how I need to cut back on my spending or I need to save more. And he said, what if you found a way to make more? Instead of focusing on reducing your spending, what if you focused on increasing your income? And obviously, good finances involve a balance of both, but I had never looked at it from that angle, where instead of trying to cut back, I was looking at, how do I make more? Can you ask for a promotion? Can you look for another job at another company that would be a transition up for you in role? Can you start a side hustle? And then the last thing I would tell 20-year-old me is, there will always be something that you want or need to buy. I so often fell into the trap of thinking, well, if I just buy this, this is the last thing I need for a while. I don't need anything else. And it's literally never worked, because there will always be a need at every point in your life. Does an appliance in your house need fixed? Do you need to replace something with your wardrobe? Like, there has never been a time where it's like, well, I have this money, but there is not one single thing that needs repairing or replacing or upgrading. You will always have a use for your money, so stop justifying expenses by telling yourself that you will have no other use for your money after you buy this one thing. So those are some things I would tell my 20-year-old self about finance. I hope that someone watching got something out of this video, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you know when new videos are posted. And before I go, shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. I run my website on Squarespace, and I love the layout. I think it's so beautiful, and it was so easy to design. They have so many different layout options for any kind of website, whether it's a blog, a store, or a portfolio, and they have 24/7 customer service. So head over to squarespace.com to sign up for a free trial. You can design your entire site and get it ready to go. And then visit squarespace.com/Allison Anderson to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you all for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.